Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Aaron. I'm an addict. um, it occurred to me while telling the origin for my idea that I hadn't really given my own origin story. I mean, why would I do this? Why would this be important to me? It's got to be money, right? Money makes the world go round. Not even a little bit. Uh, so when I was 15, I lost my best friend in the whole world, who up until that point had always been my mom. Um, I guess to clarify, I lost my mom when I was 15, and although it was septicemia that killed her, she had been sick for a number of years, and she set all of it aside because my brother had AML, which is cancer of the blood. He had to go for a bone marrow transplant, so very costly. My stepdad, actually, I don't think if it hadn't been for him, we probably wouldn't have been able to make it, because he cashed in our SPs. He put large balances on his credit cards. He even thought about at one point selling his truck. And that truck meant everything to him. So, anyway, my brother at 12 came out of remission, and my mom started to focus on her own health issues. And I think by that point it was kind of too late, but she developed osteoporosis, which is the brittle bone disease, and she broke both of her hips in about a 6-month period. She broke the mopping, which is just not something you would expect somebody would break their hips doing. But anyway, the doctor put her on Demerol and morphine for pain relief. She was supposed to go for a double hip replacement, and things got worse. She started to retain water. She developed these sores on her legs that you could stick your pinky up to about there in her leg. It was gross. With these sores, they turned gangrenous, and I mean that was just the beginning of the problems. The bad ones anyway. The surgeon wanted her to stabilize before they would perform a double hip replacement, and by the time they got around to it, she had ground down both of her hips to pretty much nothing anyway. So she was extremely dopey. I remember she used to just kind of nod off. And she would fall on the floor, and she would end up in excruciating pain, like excruciating. And she would let out this howl, and I cannot describe this to you, but I know that it was enough to keep me up at night. As soon as I heard it, as soon as it happened the first time, it would wake me up out of a dead sleep if I was sleeping by that point. And so I would creep downstairs and just kind of check on her, and she would 9 times out of 10 she'd be lying on the floor, just kind of rocking back and forth, not really conscious, and just making these howling sounds. And oftentimes too, she would just kind of get up, and she had crutches, so she would kind of crutch her way to halfway to the kitchen, which was the next room, and she would just forget what she was doing and just kind of nod out and just kind of stand there. And you would beg her, like I would beg, literally beg, just please, what is it you want? I will get you anything. I will learn how to cook. I will do whatever I need to do so that you can just go sit on the couch and be okay. And she was super proud. She would just kind of shake her head, or she couldn't really communicate very well at that point because she was too much on the nod. And so I would walk to the stairs, and I would pretend like I was walking up them, and I'd get about halfway, and I would sit down, and I would count backwards from 10, and sometimes it would be 8, sometimes it would be 6, other times it would be 1, but sure enough, before I hit 10 every time, she would be on the ground again, falling over, letting out that howl. And anyway, speed things up. I would go to school and the teachers would ask me why I was falling asleep in class, why I was so tired, why I seemed irritable, and I just was too embarrassed to tell them, so I just would bark back or act out or just do whatever I needed to do to get sent to the principal's office where I could do my work in peace. And it sucks because she knew she was having an effect on all of us, and anytime that she was herself, she was just crying and depressed. And but she ended up in a waking coma. Some of you don't know what that is. It's there would be for 6 months, 8 months, depending on the day, depending on the time of day, she could be awake or she could be completely almost brain dead, no activity whatsoever. And I remember going to visit her one time, and she'd finally come out of the waking coma, and I didn't visit her often. It was tough to see her like that, but the last time that I ever visited her, she'd come out of the waking coma, and she was dying of thirst, I'm sure. Getting most of your stuff by IV for 8 months, you wake up pretty thirsty, I would imagine. But anyway, the doctor told me she couldn't have anything but thickened water, otherwise it could possibly go into her lungs and kill her. And I remember it was a hot day. I grabbed a Dr. Pepper, not even thinking. We went up. It was her favorite pop. Bad idea. So she looked at me and literally started begging me for this pop. And she knew the rules. She knew that I knew the rules, but she didn't care. She thought that God or someone had sent a savior, and that here comes my son with a pop, and all I want is that pop, and he's going to give it to me. And I told her I wouldn't give it to her until I left. My intention was to drink as much of it as I possibly could before I left, but still save her a little bit because I imagined she was thirsty. And anyway, she didn't want to wait. And so I told her, I said, well, I'll give you the pop, but then I'm leaving because I'm not going to watch you drink this. And she didn't care. She just wanted the pop. She said, gimme, gimme, gimme. So I left it, and she drank it. And that was not the day that she died. So she made it. Anyway, she ended up in a hospital bed in her front living room, and she had a colostomy bag, yes, and a catheter. But the surgeon who performed the colostomy, I don't know what the actual surgery is called, but anyway, either it had been done wrong, or something happened after the fact. But she managed to herniate her small intestine, and she had fought for years with AISH, which is the branch of the Alberta government that would have given her money to cover an in-home nurse, and eventually did, after a lot of fighting. But her in-home nurse went to go make up with her boyfriend one day, and the nurse had woken up my brother to go sit with my mom, and he didn't go up. And so I woke up a little while later, and I heard crying and a commotion upstairs. I went upstairs, and she was on the floor, bawling her eyes out, excruciating pain. And I asked her what had happened. She said that she was sleeping and she fell out of bed. But I remember as soon as she said that, I looked over and the guardrail was up, and it's made of metal, and it's about 8 inches high. So without some serious intention or a really, really crazy dream or something, my mom wouldn't have just rolled over and landed on the floor. So, not to mention it hadn't happened at any point in the last 2 years, or the 2 years prior to that. So anyway, a careful scan of her laptop revealed some goodbye letters and some other things that pointed in a certain direction, but I immediately deleted those and haven't really told anybody since. At least none of my family. But anyway, my stepdad went to the hospital that night, and he came back, and then he got a call at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we heard him rush to leave, and then he was back about an hour later, and he couldn't even get his keys in the door. We heard the doorbell, and we locked the door behind him, and we were like, well, that's weird, he has his keys. If it's him, then he should just be able to get in. And so we opened the door while he was still trying to figure the key out, and he just kind of collapsed into the door and started bawling his eyes out, and in between sobs he had managed to say, she's gone. But anyway, there's kind of a broader story to all of that, but all I can think now is about how difficult I had made the last few years of her life, and how I never knew what it was like to be her, and how I really wish that I could gain some perspective on that. The other reason this is really important to me is my daughter, and there's a bigger story there too, but for that I think you're gonna have to stay tuned. So it's definitely not money that's driving me. Fame, fortune, boring. But there is a lot of people that can be helped with what I think is a great idea. And so that's kind of the driving force behind all of this. If you're interested, stay tuned, because I will eventually tell you more. That much I can guarantee. Look down. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.